Jake Thomas was not expecting much when he got assigned a roommate on Space Station Delta 9. He just wanted peace, maybe a soft pillow and strong coffee. What he got instead was Travan alien girl from the strict planet Zernik 5. Tall, silver-skinned with large glowing eyes and a voice that sounded like a computer with a sore throat the moment he walked into their shared room. She raised one elegant finger. "You must remove your boots before entering the sleeping area," she said seriously. Jake paused, holding a bag of instant noodles in one hand and socks that hadn't been washed in 3 days on his feet. "Okay, cool, yeah, got it," he mumbled, awkwardly stepping out of his boots, which smelled like betrayal. That was only rule number 1. Over the next hour, she gave him a full list. Rule number 7, no open food after 1900 hours. Rule number 14, no touching. My meditation stones. Rule number 22, no loud human breathing when I am meditating. Jake blinked. What does loud breathing even mean? Travis squinted at him and handed him a breathing silencer, small, jelly-like nose plug. He tried it for 10 seconds, then sneezed so hard he knocked over her scented candles. She gasped like he had committed a war crime by the end of day 1. Jake was convinced she wasn't just from another planet. She was from another universe. Their room was split perfectly in half, one side glowing blue and clean like a lab. Her side, his side, looked like Earth's laundry room exploded, which it kinda had. Every time Jake tried to watch a show, she muted it. Every time he boiled noodles, she sprayed anti-stink gas. Every time he sang in the shower, she screamed in Zernaki, a language that sounded like angry fire alarms. One evening, while Jake was humming and drying his hair, Trava stood outside the bathroom holding a mop like a weapon. "I heard sounds," she said suspiciously. Jake rolled his eyes. "It's called singing, not a threat." She didn't believe him. And that night, added rule number 32, no aggressive water noises after sunset. Then, one night, everything changed. Jake had just stepped out of the shower wearing only a towel. He was humming and walking toward the closet when he heard a beep. The door opened. Trava walked in, holding her meditation book, expecting silence and order. Instead, she saw Jake, standing there, half dripping, towel barely holding on. Her glowing eyes widened. She froze mid-step, then her mouth opened in slow motion. She screamed, loud and long, so loud that the auto-lock system thought it was an intruder alarm and locked down the floor. Jake shouted, "Wait, it's just a towel. I'm not hiding a laser bomb or anything." But Trava wasn't listening. She ran into the hall, still screaming. Her voice echoed through the entire level. "The human is hiding something between his legs." Other aliens poked their heads out of their rooms. "Did she say? He has a secret weapon," one whispered. "I knew humans had hidden tech inside their bodies." Another added. Panic spread like wildfire. Jake stood in the room, towel now slightly loose, utterly confused. What just happened? He whispered to himself, "Did I just start an intergalactic incident with my thighs?" Security bots arrived, followed by 2 alien medics and a translator droid. Trava was in a corner, trembling, eyes still wide. "He has a growth, a powerful-looking organ. I don't know what it is, but it was right there," she stammered, pointing at Jake's lower body. The medic nodded seriously. "Possible parasite weapon." Jake groaned. "It's not a weapon. It's just part of me. It's totally normal." The medic looked at Trava. "Was it glowing or humming?" Trava whispered, "No, but it looked like it could." The translator droid, completely calm, reported to the captain of the station. "Sir, the alien female has spotted what she believes is a concealed human danger device." The captain replied, "Code red, seal. Off the human quarters, we might have an Earthborn prototype on board." Jake spent the night locked in his room, under guard, still in his towel. Trava wouldn't even look at him through the glass wall. She just stared straight ahead, cheeks slightly glowing, muttering, "I saw it. I can't unsee it." Jake sighed. This is going to be one heck of a roommate story. Trava had never been this embarrassed in her life. She had seen many things during her time on the Galactic Peace Station, melting worms from Krell-6, singing insects from Nyx, and even a two-headed ambassador with mood swings, but nothing had prepared her for the things she saw on her human roommate Jake. It haunted her. It followed her into her dreams. It was not glowing, not armed, not even moving, but it was there. And that was enough to declare it a possible biological danger. The next morning, the station was buzzing with rumors. Alien whispers filled the corridors. "Did you hear about the human's hidden weapon? I heard it dangles like a sleeping worm, but can strike like a lightning eel. No one knows what it is, but the Zernaki girl saw it and screamed like a solar siren." Jake just wanted breakfast. He sat down in the cafeteria with a tray of eggs and a slightly burnt waffle. But the moment he did, everyone stood up and moved to the far wall. Even the cleaning droids beeped nervously and rolled away. Trava walked in, and as soon as she saw him, she dropped her tray. Their eyes met hers, full of horror, his full of confusion. Jake sighed and raised his cup of coffee. "Good morning to you too, Trava." Later that day, the station's science officers held a meeting. "We must understand the structure of the human," said the old four-eyed Dr. Glumar. "Earth species are always weird. They sweat through their skin, they cry when happy, and now, apparently, they hide weapons inside towels." Trava was invited to testify. She sat on a floating chair in front of the panel of aliens from different planets, her long fingers clutching her robe. "I saw it," she said. "It was soft-looking, curved slightly, and definitely biological. But the human acted like it was no big deal." One scientist gasped. "It could be a disguise tech. Maybe it looks soft, but it's actually a laser cannon." Another wrote frantically. "Subject appears to be carrying a flexible melee weapon embedded between its lower support limbs." Jake, meanwhile, was trying to access his room now, sealed under level 3 organ containment. Security bots scanned him every hour to make sure he didn't activate his weapon. He had been given new clothes, extra loose pants with a locking mechanism just in case. "Seriously?" Jake muttered, looking at the alien guard. "You think I'm hiding a plasma gun in my pants?" The guard replied, "We're not sure, sir. But the Zernaki female described it with such terror, we must assume the worst." A few hours later, an alien medical team arrived at his door. They were dressed in full hazmat suits, holding scanners, probes, and a translator unit, "Sir," said the lead doctor. "We need to perform a non-invasive scan of your suspected organ." Jake's eyes widened. "You want to scan my what?" The translator calmly replied, "The dangerous lower body weapon unit that caused panic yesterday." Jake laughed, then stopped. "Wait, you're serious?" The doctor replied, "Deadly serious. Trava said it had the energy of a predator and the shape of a hunting tail." Jake buried his face in his hands. "She saw my D." "Never mind." "Fine, scan away." The scanner beeped again, and then flashed red. "Warning. Unknown human appendage detected." The machine said. The medical team gasped. "It's real." But just then, the translator droid updated its software and gave a quiet beep. The display changed. "Correction, organ detected is natural biological reproductive structure. Not a weapon. Common among human males. Harmless." The room went quiet. The aliens looked at each other, then at Jake, who stood with his arms crossed. Clearly annoyed, Trava walked in late, holding a report pad. She saw the red light, the stunned faces, and Jake looking very smug. The translator spoke again. "The Zernaki female's earlier statement was caused by cultural misunderstanding. Humans are not hiding weapons. They are just built differently. Trava turned blue. In the face literally, as her species blushed with a glowing blue aura. She looked at Jake, who smirked and whispered. So, still afraid of the towel. She turned and ran, again, leaving behind her datapad, which had doodles of Jake labeled Unknown Bioblade, and may explode when excited. Back in her room, Trava locked the door and sat down. I have seen it, she muttered, and it wasn't even active. Her mind was spinning. What else did humans hide? Did they have more weapons that looked like innocent body parts? Meanwhile, Jake knocked on her door with a peace offering, her favorite alien tea and a small towel. Neatly folded, I come in peace, he said with a grin. Inside, Trava screamed quietly into a pillow. The rumors didn't die, they evolved. By the next morning, half the station believed Jake was part of a secret human weapon program. Some thought he was a mutant. Others believed he had smuggled Earth technology. Inside his sensitive region, the alien cafeteria now had a warning sign. Caution. Human males may carry unpredictable biology. Avoid eye contact and low pants. Jake just wanted cereal, but every time he bent over to grab milk from the fridge, 4 aliens ran away screaming. Okay, that's it, Jake muttered, tossing his spoon down. I'm calling HROR, maybe. A lawyer, meanwhile, deep in the upper levels of Station Deltanine. An emergency council had been summoned. The Galactic Assembly of Species only held these meetings during war, plague, or confusion caused by humans. Trava stood nervously in front of a large, curved table. 12 council members stared at her, each a leader of their species. Some had antennae, others had jelly skin. One was literally a talking cloud. State the reason for this emergency meeting, the leader rumbled. Trava cleared her throat. I may have overreacted. Possibly. Slightly. Yesterday, overreacted, asked a frog-faced ambassador. You set off a level 3 biological threat alarm. Trava looked down at her glowing blue toes. I thought I saw a weapon, but it was a human part. Which part? Asked the jelly being curiously. She turned even bluer. The reproductive one. A silence fell over the room like someone had turned off gravity. Then, half the council burst out laughing. At that exact moment, Jake was being led down the hallway by security bots. Where are we going? He asked, half expecting another scan. You've been summoned, said one of the bots, to defend your anatomy. He nearly tripped. What? You mean I'm going on trial for having ... that? The bot beeped. Your lower weapon has caused panic across 5 species. It must be evaluated. Jake facepalmed. It's not a weapon, it's a wonder. Okay? Ask any Earth female. Minutes later, Jake stood in the council chamber, facing 12 aliens with serious expressions. Trava avoided his eyes. Clutching her robe like it could protect her from flashbacks, the leader asked, human male. Do you deny hiding a secret weapon? Jake raised both hands. I deny hiding any weapon. What I have is completely natural. In fact, it's pretty average. The cloud ambassador swirled nervously. So, it's not armed. Jake blinked. It's not armed. It's not dangerous. It's just private. The translator droid stepped forward. Scan logs confirm. The organ in question is common. Among Earth's males, usage varies from species to species. No explosive capabilities detected. One of the insectoid aliens raised a claw, then explained this, human. He played a security video on the large screen. It showed Jake exiting the bathroom in just a towel. Trava entered and screamed like she had seen a dragon. She slipped on the floor and fell, still screaming as she scrambled backward. The video paused on a frame of Jake, standing in panic, holding the towel with both hands and yelling the caption. Read, suspected weapon discovered during hygiene ritual. The room burst into debate. His stance was aggressive. But the towel was not a shield. Why do Earth males walk like that? Is it for balance or threat posture? Jake waved his arms. People, please. This is ridiculous. You're judging me for being human. The frog-faced ambassador leaned forward. Exactly. You're different. And that scares people. Trava finally spoke, her voice small. I didn't mean to cause panic. I was just shocked. I've never seen anything like it before. Jake grinned. Well, I have been told it's impressive. She hissed at him in Zernaki. And he laughed. Even the jelly being chuckled a sound like popping bubbles. The council sighed. We will issue an official statement to clear the confusion. The translator announced, attention, human males are no longer considered a biological threat. Their strange structure is safe, although weird. Keep your distance. If unsure. Jake threw up his hands. That's your official ruling. Weird, but safe. That should go on my ID badge. Outside the council chamber, Jake and Trava walked in awkward silence. So, Jake said, are we cool now? She didn't answer. Then, quietly, she muttered, next time, wear pants. Jake smirked. No promises. She looked at him sharply. And no singing in the shower, can I at least hum? She paused, then grinned. Only if you hum away from my side of the room. By the end of the day, the rumors began to fade, but a new one started, that human males were dangerously charming. Even the Zernaki girl, who screamed in terror, had started smiling in his presence. Jake didn't mind. He was planning his next move. Maybe a harmless prank. Maybe another towel incident. After all, revenge is a dish best served. Shirtless, Jake thought things were finally calming down. After the council declared him weird but safe. Most aliens on the station stopped running away when he entered a room. A few still stared at his pants suspiciously, especially the ones with 3 eyes, but at least no one screamed anymore. Except for Trava, who still refused to look at him without turning blue in the cheeks. Every time they crossed paths in their shared dorm, she'd drop something, her mug, her datapad. Even her meditation stone once. Jake was starting to wonder if her clumsiness was from fear. Or something else. One morning, Trava visited the station's wellness center. Hoping for peace. Instead, she walked into something much worse. Jake, standing at the front desk. Arguing with a confused alien nurse. I don't need another scan. Jake said, I'm 100% healthy, and everything's where it should be. The nurse squinted. Your species is still classified as biowad. That means weekly checkups until further notice. Trava tried to sneak out, but the nurse spotted her. Ah, perfect timing. You're the eyewitness. Trava froze. Me? Jake turned. Oh no. Minutes later, they were both in a medical room. Jake sitting on a glowing platform in a paper robe, looking like a sad human burrito. Trava sitting stiffly in the corner, trying not to stare. The alien doctor entered. Dr. Ploop, a short being with 6 tentacles and thick glasses. Let's begin the diagnostic, Dr. Ploop said, adjusting the translator droid floating beside him. I must scan the human's sensitive area to log it into the database. Jake groaned. Again with the scanner. I feel like a zoo exhibit, Trava muttered. I didn't ask to be here. The translator droid buzzed, and then spoke, ready to inspect the human's legendary pleasure cannon. Jake choked. What did it just say? I, Trava. Eyes widened, her cheeks turning bright neon blue. Dr. Ploop blinked. Translator error. That shouldn't be the term. The droid corrected itself. Sorry, recalibrating. Preparing to inspect the human's danger tube, Jake stood up and pulled the robe tighter. Nope. No way. That's worse. Trava tried not to laugh, but a tiny giggle escaped. It echoed in the quiet room like a firecracker. She covered her mouth. Horrified, "Continue, doctor," she said quickly. "Let's just get this over with." Jake sat back down, muttering, "This is not how I imagined intergalactic fame." The scanner beeped and began scanning Jake's body, starting from his head. The screen showed normal human stats, until it reached the waist. Then the scanner froze, flashed red, and started shaking. "Error," the droid said. "Detected abnormal human." "Confidence levels." Dr. Ploop scratched his head. "This is the 5th time it's done that." "Very odd," Jake shrugged. "I can't help if your machines are intimidated by me." Trava turned away, but she was clearly holding back laughter. Jake raised an eyebrow. "Are you okay?" She replied without looking, "I am." Containing an emotional storm. Suddenly, the translator droid beeped again. "Emergency update downloaded." It said, "New vocabulary activated." Then it turned to Dr. Ploop and said loudly, "The human male is equipped with a WMD weapon of mass distraction." There was silence. Then Jake burst out laughing so hard he fell off the platform. Trava tried to remain composed, but snorted, yes, an actual alien snort, followed by a full laugh. The kind that made her eyes glow slightly. Dr. Ploop looked at both of them, confused. Is this normal Earth's humor? Jake sat up, rubbing his side. "Buddy, we invented awkward humor. Welcome to my TED Talk." Trava wiped her eyes, still laughing. "I don't know what that is, but it's working." The droid made a final announcement. Scan complete. Results. The human is annoying, mildly attractive, and extremely confusing. Jake winked at Trava. "You hear that? I've been certified by space doctors." She looked away, still smiling. "Don't let it go to your weaponized head." As they walked back to their room, the tension between them had changed. No more screaming, no more running. Now, it felt like a strange new energy was building, and Jake liked it. They reached the door to their quarters, and Jake paused. "Hey," he said, "wanna watch some Earth comedy later? It might help you understand me better." Trava hesitated, then nodded, "As long as it doesn't involve towels." She said with a smirk. Later that night, in a dimly lit room with glowing walls, the two of them sat together. Jake played an old Earth sitcom, full of silly misunderstandings and laugh tracks. Trava leaned closer, whispering Earth's humor is strange. Jake smiled, "But it grows on you." They laughed together. And for the first time since the towel incident, neither of them wanted to run away. Since the medical room disaster, Trava had developed a serious problem. Not a health issue, not a technical malfunction, something far worse. She couldn't stop seeing it, not the thing itself, but the memory of it. Jake's human biological organ, as innocent as it really was, had taken up permanent residence in her brain. She had seen it once by accident. Now, it appeared in her dreams, floated in her thoughts, and worst of all, popped into her mind every time she looked at him. She tried meditation. She tried humming Zernaki chants. She even tried wearing dark glasses indoors. Nothing helped. Jake, on the other hand, was thriving. Ever since the station declared him safe but unusual, aliens treated him like a celebrity. "Are you the guy with the thing?" they whispered. He would smile and nod. "That depends." "Which thing?" Trava hated how easily he leaned into the misunderstanding. He even started walking with more confidence, hips swinging like a smug Earth peacock. She hissed under her breath. Show off. Jake caught her muttering, "Say something, Blue." Cheeks. Trava looked away. "I was discussing the floor tiles." He laughed. "Sure. And I was complimenting your whisper volume." Things got worse when they were assigned a joint Project Tan interspecies roommate documentary for the Galactic Learning Archives. "Perfect," Jake said, rubbing his hands. "We get to record our awkward history for the universe." Trava groaned. "I refuse to speak about that event." "Which one?" he teased. the towel incident, or the WMD scan. She turned blue again. All of it. Their first scene was filmed in their shared living room. Jake sat relaxed on the couch, sipping a soda. Trava sat upright on the other end, arms stiff, trying not to look in his direction. The alien camera drone floated between them, blinking red. "Tell us about your first impression of each other," the drone asked. Jake smirked. She had too many rules. "Like a walking list of don'ts," Trava replied coldly. He smelled like burnt chemicals and earth shame. The drone buzzed with joy. "Excellent chemistry detected. Please proceed." The next scene was in the kitchen. Jake was cooking. Earth noodles, dancing slightly. Trava tried to help, but every time she reached across him, she accidentally brushed his arm and flinched like she'd touched fire. Jake noticed and leaned a little closer. She dropped the spice jar. It exploded into orange dust all over her robe. Jake tried to hold in laughter. "Spicy today, aren't we?" Trava narrowed her eyes. "I will eject you into space." Later, while reviewing footage, the drone asked, "Why do you two behave like you're trying to escape each other?" Jake answered first. "Well," she once screamed at the sight of me, Trava quickly added. "He walks around with confidence he did not earn." Jake gasped, pretending to be wounded. "That's harsh. I was born confident." "You were born embarrassing," she snapped back. The drone beeped happily. Tension levels high. "This will boost viewer ratings." Things came to a head one evening when the lights in their room flickered. A small power outage caused the heating unit to fail. Trava, sensitive to cold, wrapped herself in 3 blankets, shivering. Jake tossed her a human hoodie. "Here," he said, "earthcloth cozy and weapon-free." She stared at it, then slowly pulled it over her glowing head. It was huge on her, the sleeves dragging past her fingers. She looked like a tiny alien marshmallow. Jake smiled. "Now you look like a fan of human fashion," she replied quietly. "It's warm, but smells like you." He leaned closer. Teasing, "That's probably my legendary musk." She pulled the hoodie hood over her face and shouted, "Stop." Later that night, Trava sat alone in the common room, sipping tea. She stared at the stars outside the window, her mind still haunted by the first time she saw it. Not the towel, not the confusion, but the way Jake laughed through the embarrassment, the way he handled being treated like a weapon by being himself. She whispered, "Why can't I unsee you, human?" At that moment, Jake entered the room in pajama pants and a t-shirt that said "Danger may contain surprises." Trava nearly spat out her tea. Jake noticed and winked. Too soon. She stood up, marched to her room, then turned and said one word before slamming the door. "Yes." Jake laughed as he sat down on the couch. He looked at the camera drone still hovering in the corner. "Bet you're loving this," he said. The drone replied, "Romantic tension detected. 61%. Projection. Relationship arc beginning." Jake raised an eyebrow. "We'll see about that." Trava had finally had enough. She couldn't handle one more smug look from Jake. One more ridiculous t-shirt, or one more moment where the memory of that day flashed in her mind like a glitchy video file. So she did what any proud alien from Zernik 5 would do in such a situation. She declared war. Not with weapons, not with lasers, with pranks. Silent, clever, ridiculous revenge. It started with toothpaste. Jake woke up early, still half asleep, went to brush his teeth, and screamed. His mouth lit up in bright blue foam that glowed in the dark. He stared at the mirror in horror. Why does I taste like spicy space cabbage? Trava calmly sipped her tea from the kitchen, not even turning around. Perhaps human toothpaste was not strong enough, she said with a smirk. Jake blinked, blue bubbles still dripping from his lips. Oh, so we're doing this now? Shh. Not at once, it has begun. The next day, Jake responded with human-style mischief. He installed a voice modulator chip inside Trava's meditation bell. When she tapped it to begin her quiet practice, it shouted in his voice, "Stop. Thinking about my towel." The room echoed with the words, and the entire hallway heard it. Trava's cheeks turned ultra-blue, and she marched into the kitchen where Jake was laughing. "Low blow, Earth Monkey," she said, narrowing her eyes. "Effective, though," he grinned. "Want some cereal?" She picked up the cereal box, which exploded with confetti and fake worms. Jake nearly fell out of his chair laughing. And so, the prank war escalated over the next few days. The room transformed into a silent battlefield. Jake replaced her scented candles with ones that smelled like sweaty gym socks. Trava hacked his translator and changed random English words into ridiculous ones. Pants became butt blankets. Water became mouth juice. Respect became worship. The Blue Queen. During a group meeting, Jake stood up and confidently said, "I think this project deserves our full worship of the Blue Queen." The room fell into confused silence. Trava hid behind her datapad, trying not to laugh. Jake struck back by releasing tiny earth spiders, harmless robots, sent to her bed. Her scream was heard across 3 decks. He recorded it and made it his alarm sound. "Beautiful," he muttered every morning when it played. "Terrifying," the alien neighbors replied, plugging their ear holes, but even the station's bots were starting to worry. One cleaning droid left a message outside their door. "Stop, or you will be relocated to separate dormitories." Jake saw it and laughed. Trava saw it and smiled, but deeper down, a strange feeling began to grow. She didn't want to be moved. As annoying as Jake was, he had become part of her daily rhythm. Maddening, loud, embarrassing, but never boring. One evening, Jake prepared his ultimate prank. He placed a hologram projector inside Trava's meditation orb at exactly 2,100 hours. It would activate, playing a 3D projection of himself wearing nothing but a towel doing finger guns and saying, "Hey, you miss me?" He set it up, waited, and grinned, but Trava was ahead of him that same night. Jake entered his room to find a strange mist floating in the air. A small sign on the wall read, "Congratulations. You've been exposed to Zernaki Sneeze Mist. Enjoy the next 3 hours." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Sneeze Mist? That doesn't sound so achoo." His sneeze was so powerful, it knocked a picture frame off the wall. Half an hour later, Trava entered the living room just in time to see her prank fail. Jake was curled up on the couch, eyes watering, sneezing uncontrollably, but laughing. The mist had somehow reacted with his shampoo and turned his hair neon pink. Best prank ever. He sniffled proudly. Trava stared at him, then at his hair, then burst out laughing. Real laughter, not the polite alien kind, but full, loud, joyful laughter. Jake looked up, smiling. "That's the first time I've heard you laugh like that." She covered her mouth. "Don't get used to it." Sneezebot. That night, they called a temporary truce. Sitting across from each other with cups of alien cocoa, they laughed over their own madness. Jake raised his cup to war. Trava tapped hers to his. To peace, they looked at each other for a long moment, not as human and alien, not as prank enemies, but as something else, something new, something oddly fun. Jake finally said, "You know, for someone who screamed the first time she saw me, you're not half bad." Trava raised an eyebrow. "And for someone who glows in the dark when embarrassed, you're not a complete disaster." They both smiled, knowing this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something even weirder. The prank war had ended, but the strange feeling didn't. Trava still caught herself smiling when Jake entered the room. And Jake, well, he had started brushing his hair and wearing cleaner shirts, which for him meant something serious. They were still total opposites. She was clean, quiet, and precise. He was messy, loud, and always late. Yet somehow, they had started, fitting together like two puzzle pieces from different galaxies. That morning, something different happened. Trava was up early, preparing her tea in silence. She expected Jake to roll out of bed late as usual, yawning and stumbling toward the fridge, but he wasn't there. No crashing sounds, no humming in the shower, no singing off key, no Jake. She waited. She didn't want to be worried, but something inside her felt strange. She went to his room and knocked. Jake. Silence. She opened the door and gasped. Jake was lying in bed, shivering, cheeks flushed. Eyes glassy, a soft human groan escaped his lips. Ugh. I think I caught an alien cold. Or maybe it's that Zernaki sneeze missed again. Times 10. Trava's eyes widened. She immediately grabbed a blanket and pulled it tighter around him. I didn't mean to actually poison you, she said in a panic. Jake smiled weakly. No, no. This one's not your fault, I swear. She looked at him. Really looked. His lips were dry, his hands cold, his usual annoying energy gone. Her chest tightened. Why didn't you call for help? She asked. I thought I could handle it, he mumbled. Didn't want you to see me like this, Trava snorted. Jake. I saw you in a towel, holding a spoon like a weapon. This is better. He chuckled softly, then coughed. She sat by his bed, placing a damp cloth on his forehead. The room was quiet, too quiet for them. Jake looked at her and whispered, So, what's it like seeing me helpless, instead of half naked? She rolled her eyes, honestly. Less terrifying? Then she paused, cheeks glowing slightly, but more worrying. Throughout the day, Trava stayed by his side. She read him stories from Earth. Even though she didn't understand half the words, she brought him soup made from Zernaki roots, though it tasted like spicy sandpaper. Jake didn't complain. In fact, he smiled every time she entered the room. At one point, she noticed he had dozed off, his head tilted to one side, hair messy, lips parted slightly. He looked soft, vulnerable, and dare she think it adorable. She reached out and gently tucked a blanket around him, then whispered, You are very annoying, Jake Thomas. But I think I've grown used to your chaos. When he woke up later that evening, Jake saw her curled up in the chair next to his bed. Asleep, her head rested on her arms, her blue cheek pressed against the table. He stared at her for a long time. There was no prank war now. No teasing, no screaming, just this moment. He reached out and placed his hand gently over hers. She stirred and opened one eye. Blinking at him, Jake smiled weakly. You stayed. Trava whispered, Of course I did. Then, in a lower voice, she added, You were the first to make me laugh on this station, and the first human I ever called friend. Jake looked into her glowing eyes. Just friend. He teased. She smirked. For now, days passed, and Jake got better. The color returned to his face, the sarcasm to his voice, and the chaos to the room. But something had changed between them. They sat closer now, shared food without awkwardness, even watched Earth movies together. Trava didn't flinch anymore when he brushed against her arm, and Jake. He stopped calling her Blue Boss Lady and started calling her T one night. While watching an Earth romance movie, the lead characters kissed under a digital rain. Trava tilted her head, confused. Why do humans press lips together? Is it some kind of nutrient exchange? Jake laughed. Not really. It's just how we show closeness. Affection, she thought for a moment. Then whispered, Would you? Show me. Jake blinked, surprised, then nodded slowly. They leaned in, awkward but curious, and when their lips met, wasn't magical. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And when they pulled away, Jake whispered, "Well, now you really can't unsee me." Trava smiled, "I don't want to." Later that night, the station drone returned to record the last segment of their documentary. The floating bot asked, "Final statement. What have you learned from living with another species?" Jake leaned back, pulled Trava gently beside him. He smiled and said, "I learned that sometimes first impressions are wrong, especially if there's a towel involved," Trava added. "And I learned that chaos can be comforting. Even when it wears ridiculous t-shirts." The drone beeped. Summary: 1 scream, 2 confused hearts, many pranks. Final result: emotional attachment achieved. Jake looked at Trava and whispered, "Guess we're not just roommates anymore," she replied, resting her head on his shoulder. "No, human. We're something much weirder." And for the first time since their explosive first meeting, there was no fear, no panic, no awkwardness, only warmth, laughter, and a little snuggle.